Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Between the Sharks. We're in the room formerly known as the kitchen. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta take the crunchy with the smooth, so I welcome you to the kitchen. Can't you just imagine yourself preparing a nice meal for friends? See all this cat food and kitty litter and stuff? Yep. This place smells exactly like you would imagine. Like cats.
It's not that bad.
Not that bad.
This whole house was built so strangely. They decided to go 2 steps up, but they didn't take the ceiling 2 steps up, so it was like a weird 6-foot tall room. Basically, in an attempt to make this house a little bit more livable, we are going to level this out so that the floor in this room is the same as the floor in that room. So to pull off this feat, we have to do a bunch of unorthodox stuff.
But fear not the obstacles in your path.
Some of it's going to seem really questionable. You can see this joist. That's where we need the framing to be for our floor to line up in the right place to be on an even plane with the rest of the house. Now, there are a handful of options here, but as you can see, we need our wall to extend it down lower than it is, and these big chunky heart pine pieces stick out into the room. So I've thought about the approach to fixing this a bunch. And I could either make the wall extra thick and just cover it up. I think it's gonna work. I mean, the issue with framing in is I have to support all the floor joists inside of the wall, not directly on a foundation. I go back and forth like every 5 minutes. Whew.
He has no idea what he's doing, does he?
It's insane how many times I've gone back and forth where I've like made up my mind, gone, did a drawing, figured it all out. And then I came back in and saw something and was like, man, that's going to take forever. I'm trying to let it be what it is. Another thing that's going on here is these frame outs exist.
Yes, there they are.
So I was going to put the new entry to the house right there, but against that corner, the plan is to connect these 2 rooms. Should we bust that down and feel it out? I don't know. I came in here gung-ho, ready to start breaking stuff, and now I'm standing here confused. We kind of have a plan. It changes every 32 seconds, but it all starts with getting this place cleared out enough to actually start building. We're going to rebuild this room from the inside. Unfortunately, it's been raining a ton, which is one of the reasons we're working on this room, and we have nothing but a mud pit out yonder. Yeah, it's bad. If I go that way, I'll sink like knee deep in 2 seconds. Oh yeah, my big old concrete pillow. Well, it's a little more better. I just pushed the disaster this way. That tends to be one of my cleaning methods. So I went ahead and made a mark, assuming we want to go ahead and try to line up with our already existing damaged, missing chunks of foundation. Obviously this was a vent and or access, which is definitely a good thing to have for a crawl space. But the idea is, if this is 38.5 from here to this stud, then that will be the rough opening for our door, which will basically land it. If I split this block in half, that ought to do the trick for when we want to cut the door in more later. But it does mean I need to think about getting this block out sooner than later, and then I can think about putting the floor in. All right, maybe that's more better. Put up my Home Depot work lights. They're pretty great. All right, got the trusty old hammer drill. See if I can just bust these mortar seams. Never done this before. I know I can take a sledgehammer to it, but I'd rather be meticulous about it. Wrong word. Closer to scalpel than hatchet. well, they're hollow, so maybe we'll go with plan B. You know, just for giggles. Got these little thingamadoodles in there. I don't know when this was built. We'll say 60s. And presuming this was built around the 60s, they didn't anchor the house with J-bolts like they do now. It's pretty interesting stuff. This is a very windy area and tornado and hurricane prone. Tornado more, but hurricanes more lately. It didn't go nowhere. I mean, I'm being a little gentle about it because I'm trying to keep the brick on the outside for now. Because if I open this wide open, who knows how long it'll be open. There have been periods in my life where I left for a week and didn't come back for 5 months, so. Well, I've never been in here when it's really coming down, but I'm also getting rained on from up there, so we got a lot to do, gang. We got a lot to do. Water feature. So it turns out busting that stuff out was super easy. So my plans are kind of in flux. I'm gonna invent it as I go. While I do have drawings and plans of what I want to do, when I get in here and I look at it and I see where studs and framing are, where holes already exist in walls, that type of thing, it would be foolhardy not to take that into account. We're still going to move it when we need to move it for the overall benefit of, you know, the house and its living, but I want to make sure that I'm not creating more work that doesn't have a benefit. Moving that door over definitely makes more sense, and I do want to cross through into a reasonably sized opening here. Got 3 studs right here, and those are not moving, so this would be the edge of our doorway into the living room. Plans to do a cased opening. It'd be nice to do it over 3 feet. I'm thinking 4 feet. Mysteries abound. So this was all notched for wiring and telephone lines when those were added at some point. Again, it's not that big a deal, but you know, because they'd actually put in a beam above the door, I thought we were in okay shape. Like, yeah, you guys did okay. Like maybe they did that part right, but there's a big gap in the 2x4 that is holding up the beam. Does it really matter? No, it's fine. We're gonna take it out anyway. We'll redo the little beam part of it all. It's funny. So just looking at, you know, how to open up this wall. Got a little bit of termite damage. I'm not surprised at all, but fortunately for us, it's pretty old and it's not nearly as bad as other rotten parts of the house. Meh. The beam, lintel, whatever, was going Wi-Fi. That's not right. I'm not mad about it, but it's funny. Viola! Look at that. I really don't want to do this thing right now, but I'm going to do it anyway because... So we are going to have to... The part that I don't want to do the most is just cutting through the rest of the pine siding because it does extend up and beyond, and so we don't want to take it all off. Enough for this to be open so that we can get a beam up there and our studs underneath it. I'm not worried about supporting this in the meantime. Where it is and everything else, I think it's going to be totally safe, but you gotta make your own assessments, and to do that, you just gotta ask it. You're gonna fall down, are you? I can trust you, right? All right. right, gang, another day. We busted a hole over here. Unfortunately, there was a door there previously put in the right place so we couldn't use it, which also was pretty sketchy work, so we didn't want to use it. Realizing now I didn't plumb that. Let's take a look. Pretty darn close. Good enough for me. Oh boy, howdy. It is humid and awful in here. Well, thanks for tuning in to Between the Sharks and watching one dude try to repair one busted old house. There's plenty more where this came from. We left off by cutting this nice big hole in the wall. I mean, I like it a lot better. It just really opens up the space. This is not a huge house, but seeing from one space into another definitely makes it feel way more bigger. Just got rained on. Where's that water coming from? It's raining and lousy outside, and with our demo projects here, and here, and in here, we sort of left this off too. We demoed the floors, braced things up to this point. We've made a lot of mess. So, all right, we'll see how she wants to fire up. Apparently, like instantly. All right, there we go. Got the truck lined up right out the front door. Nothing to it but to do it. All right, we're gonna load this thing up, see how much of this crap we can get in there. Hopefully a lot. I mean, we barely made a dent in it. And if you are new to renovations, the demo is easy. It looks like there's a ton of progress being made in a short period of time, but really you're just making a big old mess. And then the amount of mess you generate, I mean, it takes a lot to get rid of this stuff. This stuff takes up a lot of space, and it's no joke. So, well, I guessed wrong. It's rainy and lousy, but there is a great big line here. That's just the brakes sometimes. All right, 45 minutes later, we got an empty truck. It felt like forever. We're headed now to Lowe's to pick up some new stuff. Yeah. Woof, what an ugly day. But we got a truckload of lumber, which is kind of exciting. It means we have enough lumber to start thinking about our new floor. Got a bunch of stuff out of the way, getting stuff done. I'm soaked. Anyway, let's get this stuff back to the ranch. All right, gang, with the termite treatment done, I'm gonna start with a vapor barrier. All right, my own personal preference. We're gonna go only to the edge of the wood because I don't want to trap moisture from the crawl space in next to the bottom of the wood. The wood's got to breathe. In previous videos, you may have actually seen me sweeping the crawl space dirt. That is absolutely true. I did it. The pile is over there. Have you ever had to crawl into crawl spaces where every contractor for the last 50 years just left their trash in there, including the original builders? Nails, concrete pieces, wood pieces. It's miserable and it'll cut you to ribbons. Well, over here, we're just gonna install an old school ledger board and attach right to the existing 2x12 that is already there. In this unorthodox move, we are gonna install a ledger strip along this band joist, but we're not going to do it necessarily level. We're going to do it in a straight line based on our floor. The difference is if the building has sagged, which it should have sagged over the last 70 years, that this line may not necessarily be level. And if my floor joists in here are level, they're not going to line up with my floor in there. And ultimately, through these openings, there'll be a hallway here. We're going to want, like, no trip hazards.
Okay.
I'd rather a smooth floor that's a little at a level than a level floor with a bump in it. So we're going to just measure down, make our marks, and just use the existing thing as our true line. We'll go from that and aim for level toward this side where it's brand new. We are framing this floor with 2x6 on 12-inch centers. The reason I'm doing that is for maximum clearance underneath the boards. Mostly in this case because we've done a termite treatment and we're doing a vapor barrier. It's just for airflow in general. It leaves a little bit more room for air to move around. This will be our subfloor. We're gonna floor over that. Our subfloor is 3/4 of an inch thick. 2x6 is actually 5.5 inches. So we need a ledger board drop down 6 1/4 inches from what is currently the top of the floor right there. We're using pressure treated, so we have to use hardware that is rated for pressure treated. I'm going to use a mixture of screws and nails in different places for different things, but you don't want to be putting drywall screws in to hold up your floor. That's all I'm saying. There will be no plumbing or electrical or anything under this floor. I would much rather go through the attic for that because then I can get to it for repairs. So what we are doing in here is essentially just building a deck inside this room. I like to start with screws in case I screw up. They're a lot easier to adjust and remove than nails are. Gone down both roads and boy, howdy. Nail guns real fast until you make a mistake and then suddenly you're out there with a hammer, you're breaking lumber and it's a nightmare. Dead level. We're not building the Coliseum though, gang. We're building a floor 1 foot off the ground. I've got a couple boards just kind of laid in there. We have a concrete footer here that sticks out, I don't know, probably 8 inches or so. And everything we're using is ground contact rated and we have termite proofed and we're putting a moisture barrier in. So this is not going to be the part of the house that goes first, for sure. So I had to trim this sill plate back because at this point it got 2 inches, 2¼ inches wider, which just shows A, they were just using what they had, but B, what they had doesn't exist anymore. Like, this is old growth heart pine and it is hard as a rock. This stuff just grew extremely slowly over time. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. It's something to appreciate, just saying. All right, sports fans, I don't have much faith that any of this is square, so we're gonna do our best by squaring off this one side, and we're gonna just deal with the fallout as we get to the far ends of the room. Now to do that, we're gonna use old Pythagoras. That's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Just happens to work out that 3, 4, and 5 feet work that way, and so does doubling it. So 6, 8, 10. So on and so forth. We're gonna run 6 feet out this way, make a mark. We're gonna run 8 feet out this way, make a mark. We're gonna run 10 feet as a hypotenuse and hippopotamus. And where the dots all line up at 10 feet, it'll give us a right angle. So the only way I can make this square is by moving that board further or closer to make this equal 10 feet. I'm gonna hook that edge in. I'm off by 3/8 of an inch. So gotta knock the far end of the board that away. I don't have enough hands for this job, guys. So basically I gotta grab the board. It's probably too much, let's find out. Oh. Fail. I mean, that is right on the money. All right, I'm gonna fasten that end, and then this is our new board that we're gonna measure off of. All right, gang, I got my last go LG 30 laser. Love this thing. So right there, we're right around 4.5. So when I get over here, I wanna see 4.5 down from my laser. I'm pretty darn close. This will get more better once I figure out what the hell I'm doing. Not graceful at all. Jeez. I feel like I've never moved a lumber before. All right. No wobblies. Pretty darn good. All right, gang, we're plugging away at it. All the joists are in with just one screw at this point. Added blocking. My plan is to maybe have an interior wall here, but you know, the more I'm standing in it, the more I'm attached to the open space. But you know, wall space is important too if you want to like put stuff up. Still a lot of joist hangers to go and a lot more framing and sheathing and all kinds of stuff. We're gonna keep plugging away as long as I can keep standing. I really only need to move 3 more sheets tonight to get this 12-foot section done, but that feels like more than I can do. Everything gets heavier as the day goes on. All right, heavy stuff on 3. Okay, I've fumbled twice in the last 15 minutes. Cut that backwards, it's still fine, I'll just scab that piece in. And then I somehow managed to just get that jammed in down there. This is me saying I should quit. I think I can get these 2 pieces done without maiming myself. Oh boy, apparently can't count joists anymore either, so I went ahead and screwed this down in a couple spots. So in case I forget that it's cantilevered, I don't just walk out there and go ass over tea kettle, as it were. It's too dangerous for me tonight, so we will see you guys tomorrow after we get some well-needed rest and hopefully be fresher enough to not maim ourselves. Seriously, it is encouraging to see something inside this house kind of get better. We are sneaking up on it. We're 12 hours into this process, and that includes trips to the store. Whew. Now it's time where we got some more heavy lifting to do. 75 pounds a sheet. that's roughly 12 hours of work. Laid 16 feet of flooring. I miscounted joists apparently, so I'm a joist short to get full 20, but still a massive improvement, and it feels like a turning point even though it's really not. The tides, it's an ebb and flow here, so we do some demo, we do some repairs, demo, repairs, and it's just going to be like that because, well, I'm a one-man gig, so it's my own bottleneck. I didn't really think about this ahead of time, but it's a huge bonus. This can now function sort of as the workshop in order to complete other tasks, which is a really big deal because I've got tools and mess scattered all over the house. Every project generates both a materials mess but also a tools mess because the only place to keep them was in the garage, and if you follow the channel, that's also a mess. This is a pretty big deal. It went from smelling like cats in here to smelling like dirt, and now it smells like lumber. So we're definitely headed in the right direction, at least in the olfactory sense. So yeah, thanks for watching Between the Sharks. Good luck on your projects out there. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Home Improvement. You can do it. All right, good luck on your projects out there, gang. See you next time.